Hey, it's Ed, and welcome to another edition of Ed Talks. I have my friend Joe joining us. Joe, welcome to Ed Talks.
Thanks, Ed. How you doing, buddy?
Awesome. It's so good to have you on Ed Talks because we've been friends for a long time and we get to hang out quite a bit, but never actually had you on the show. And you have an amazing story. There's a couple different angles of your story. And I'm sure there's probably even more than that we haven't ever unpacked or touched to date. But one that really stood out to me was on Mother's Day. You made a tribute on LinkedIn, very public tribute to your mom. Got 45,000, probably more since then, impressions that you made on people that went viral. And tell us a little bit about your mom. It's such a great story, and I'd love for you to share it.
She's a fighter. Kid who grew up in Cambridge, Mass, and she had to be a fighter later in life. But she actually, one part I didn't add to that story was that she was a nun before she met my father. So she was in the convent, right? So then she left the convent to marry my father. She's so inspirational because as a young boy, when my parents got divorced when I was 10, the impact on me was challenging, but with her guidance and everything else, helped me move to through school and whatnot. And I have a story about later in life about how that impacted me even more. But when the dad walked away, there was no payments for child support. So watching my mom try and put food on the table, there were nights when there was no oil in the tank and we had to start the fireplace and keep warm and whatnot and get up and go to school the next day. So it was quite challenging. And as a young boy, I would just go along with my mom to the courts and whatnot. I'd sit there and watch her fight the courts and fight the system. And this was in the 80s.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, it was quite different than today. And at one point through the whole process with non-payment of child support, I actually watched my father go to jail for 6 months for non-payment of child support. And the wondering what's happened to my father, why is he going, why is he not paying, all those little things as a young boy and into my now early teens. And that fight continued for years. And I remember clear as day, my mom told me, she goes, I got a case and we're going to the Massachusetts Supreme Court. I need you there with me to support me as a family. To watch your mom with no legal background as far as being an attorney
Yeah.
argue in front of the highest court in the state is just like, it was so impressive. And although I may not have appreciated as much as I do later in life, but looking back and understanding what she had to go through and what she did was just simply inspirational. And so, my whole, philosophy is, although things can be bad some days, if you collaborate and figure it out, let's not let each other fail. Let's figure out how do we solve these problems together and move forward. So
Joe, did
when
you ever have the opportunity to talk to your mom later in life and say, wow, thank
Oh, I
you?
have. I just had breakfast with her on Memorial Day, right? And I showed her the LinkedIn profile, and all she read all the comments. So whoever commented, thank you so much, because I shared with her, that the reason why I posted that because a couple of days prior I saw that picture of her when she was 4 years old. I never saw that picture before. That was the first time. I'm 54 years old. Never saw that picture before, and I was just so inspired by that little young girl and where she was, where she is later in life today. And just recently, that actually, she just got notified the other day. She was helping some seniors with a transition from one housing complex to another, and they were being challenged because that same population of seniors actually fought against the housing development because there were some issues in their homes, and they won. And these group of seniors got free rent for about 9 months as a settlement. And they were being blocked to move to this other property. And they got my mom involved. And she said, you can't block them. And if you do, we're going to file this complaint and file this process. A few days later, they got notified all of them have the approval to move to the new housing. So she continues to fight today for people that need help and just so inspirational. But as a young boy watching her fight, although I may not appreciate it when I was in my teens, in my early 20s, but boy, later in life, it's just an inspiration. I'm thankful she's still with us today, to celebrate that.
Yeah, and I love the fact, she started out as a nun to obviously she felt a calling to help other people, so she helped other people, and she's still doing it today.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and I think sometimes we forget how important our parents are in who we've become as leaders. And our parents are never perfect, and we probably all have some down stories as well. But by and large, I mean, we are the result of what they poured into us. And yours is a beautiful story. Maybe Mother's Day 26, we should have you and her on.
Well, that'd be great.
I can't have my mom on anymore since she passed away a few years ago, but
Yeah.
it'd be fun to highlight your mom because that's an incredible story. Joe, the other incredible thing about you, we could spend hours, but we only have a couple minutes. But you, and I don't think people know this because, right, they just know the Joe today or the last couple of years, but you have gone through some health challenges. So you shocked me when you shared it with me. So tell us about, where you were, a few years back and how you got to where you are now in terms of your health.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ed. The story to share there is that I was the typical, maybe atypical patient, not seeing my primary care doctor as much as I should. I work in healthcare. I see them all the time. Why am I not seeing my primary care doctor? And the story is that I almost hit 300 pounds. I was at 298 and I was not feeling well. I was on the road all the time and I was on the vendor side of the space at this point in time, but also then shipped into another CIO role. And at one point, I felt like I got hit by a train wreck. So I finally took the time. At the point of I'm not feeling well. I go see my doctor and he goes, of course you're not feeling well. You put on 40 pounds and your A1C is a 12. And I was like, I knew what that meant. And so I began to take some action there. I was working actually with a company that had a health coach in diabetes space. I was diagnosed as a type 2. And so I just changed my behaviors. I changed, some of the things I was eating, some of the choices I was making. I was more aware of my sugar levels. I was more aware of my weight and where I wanted to get to and how to get down those pounds, if you will. And I had to have some behavioral health changes for myself, make those right choices. But the health coach would just kind of help me along that path. And now more recently, within the last year or so, I've also began seeing a therapist for mental health therapy to kind of balance things together, the stresses of life and whatnot. And I found out that my weight and my sugar levels, the biggest thing for me was stress and not stress, having a good stress management plan. But the awareness of that made me change. And I just weighed myself the other day and I just hit 222, right? And my sugar level is now in the 130s. And, the A1C's come down a bit.
Yeah.
My goal is to my freshman college year weight. I'm 2 pounds away, right? So, but then I get to the high school weight, but still stay healthy. So
Yeah.
now it's just the engagement with my primary care doc and understanding things and, just the reinforcements that I personally need. And my joke is with digital health and health coaching, if I can do it, so can't others. And then the big question becomes for our population at large is how do people afford those types of services and programs that could have such a positive impact in health along the way? If I never understood that and I just continued going on that path, who knows where I would be today? With
Yeah.
A1C at 12, we know what happens along the corner, right?
Yeah.
So, just kind of checking in with those. And I consider myself lucky. Because there are people around us like yourself that battled other things through their health journeys and still with us today, thank God.
Yeah.
But how do we collectively understand our own health and bring that journey forward the best that we can?
Yeah, Joe, and I appreciate your transparency because you're right, and especially as CIOs or anyone in healthcare, and we're dealing with people's lives, so that separates our career choice, quite a bit from others in terms of stress level. And then as you progress in leadership, whether you're a manager, director, certainly a CIO, it's stressful, and so there's nothing wrong with taking care of your mental health. It used to be a taboo, stigma. It's like no, because it expresses itself in the other ways that you were talking about, maybe like eating or just not exercising, different things, and then ultimately it leads to really bad outcomes. And so you took it on head on, and you've made such amazing progress. I'm inspired. Like I was just inspired when we were together. You were telling me this story. It's like, dang, we got to share this because a lot of people still struggle and they don't know, hey, it's okay, and just to do an assessment where you are, and then do the things, take the steps you've taken to get healthy again.
It's absolutely okay. Call it mental health, call it life coach, call it whatever you want. It's somebody that you can talk to that can guide you through these discussions, and you can have these open conversations. And going back to that young 10-year-old boy, that's what my life coach and mental health counselor brought me back to.
Yeah.
What would that 10-year-old boy say when your parents got divorced? Where you are today? What are those challenges? What you make that connection, it hits home really quick.
It's heavy, and I'm so glad that you felt your way through it. I'm so happy for your mom. I can't wait to meet her. I definitely want to do this Mother's Day next year. It'll be awesome. Joe, you're an inspirational leader. Thank you for being part of EDTalks, and thank you for being my friend.
Right back at you, my friend. Absolutely.